Today I bring you another session of S Code Book 20. Last time we learned about the basic structure of an HTML file. We also went ahead to write our first code. Today we are going to continue. But before that, let's locate our folder, the folder we created, S Code Book 20. Yours might have a different name. Mine is this one. So inside that folder we should see the index file we created. If you don't have that, please visit our previous video and you will get that. Now let's open it in our Sublime Text. Don't forget that we are using Sublime Text for this code. So let's open it. If you have this, if you have it this way, that is showing your browser. Means if you open it this way, it will open your browser. So you right click, you go to open with, and select Sublime Text from here. If you don't have Sublime Text from here, go to choose another program, then go to more apps, scroll down. If you still don't see it, go to look for another app on this PC, then it will open your program files for you. You should see Sublime Text from here. You open in the application file, so within this, the application file, which is Sublime Text, you select open and to open your code. So now that you have, or you should have something like this before we proceed. But before we proceed, I have to show you a few tricks that is in Sublime Text. A colleague was wondering how I was able to just type the tag name, for example, like this. I just type the tag name and then bam, this thing will just come. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and after that we will continue. You need to first save your document as I showed you. So you save it into the folder. Now after saving it, you come to the workspace. So as I told you, with HTML files, you don't need to type anything before you save it. You can save the blank file. So after saving it, you come to in here, the workspace area, and then you type the tag name. So in this case, we want the HTML structure, so we type HTML. After typing it, you come and tap on the tab key like that, and then the basic structure will come. So if you want the paragraph tag, you come and type P, and then you hit the tab key, the paragraph tag will come. So as you move along, I'll show you a few more steps. Now don't forget that before you can see the results in the browser, you need to save the document as well. So for the first time, as I showed you, you can go to save as. But if you want it to be auto saving subsequently, you need to go to preferences, then you go to settings. Now this will come. So on the left panel, you have to look for save on focus lost. You can see that it is false. Most of the time you see that nothing will be on the right side. So you come to the right side and you paste it here. And instead of false, you change this to true as it was there before. After that, you click on save, you close this, and then once you leave the workspace and go to a different place, your work will be saved. So let's see an example. So let's type hello world. Now as you can see, you see that there's a small dot here. It means that my work has not been saved yet. But if I leave this working area and go to untitled, you see that is gone. Now it has become a close button. It means that my work has been saved. So if I refresh in the browser, I will see the hello world untyped. So that is how you can auto save your work, so you don't have to be saving every time. Let's not waste any much time. One of the key HTML elements we use to build a web page is the body element. This means that only content inside the opening and closing of the body tags can be displayed to the screen. Once the file has a body, many different types of content, including text, images, and buttons can be added to the body. Now within the body, we already have our hello text. I told you that the P means paragraph, but you cannot jump to a paragraph without a heading. So HTML has a tag called heading tag. It has 6 levels, so it is denoted by the number plus the heading tag. So in our case, we have the H1, which is this way. So this is the heading 1, and then up to heading 6. So we have heading 1, 2, 3, up to 6. Now what this means is that H1 defines the most important heading and H6 defines the least important heading. Search engines use the headings to index the structure and content of your web pages. Users normally skim your web pages by its headings. It is important to use the headings to show the document structure. This is how what we did back there will display in our browser. So we see the heading 1 being the biggest and heading 6 being the smallest. So heading 1 is more important than heading 6. You can actually use this in your work, in your subsequent work. Now let's go to the paragraph. Now once we have our headings, we can move on to the paragraph. Our first paragraph, we have this. So this paragraph contains a lot of lines in the source code, but browser ignores it. So we can see this line 1, 2, 3, 4. But when we go to the browser will ignore it. So let's check that from the browser quickly. So as you can see, the browser is showing only one line of the paragraph, but back there in our code we had 4 paragraphs. Good. So this is what it does. So within the code you can break it down into lines. With this you can structure it this way, but when it goes to the browser will ignore all the breaks in it. If you want to break a paragraph like this, let's say we want to break it from off, there's a tag to do that. You need to use the BR tag, which is the short form of break. Hit tab key, you get this. So when we go back to the browser, we'll see that this paragraph contains a lot of, then it will break to the next line and give us lines in the source code, but browser ignores it. Let's check that quickly. As we can see, works perfectly. Moving on to our next paragraph. In our next paragraph, we also have something like this. This paragraph contains a lot of spaces in the source code, but the browser ignores it. So as you can see, there's a lot of space here and one here, a lot of space, a lot of space. So for example, if I made a mistake by typing this whole lot of space, the browser will still ignore these enormous spaces and combine the spaces and make it one. So let's check that quickly from the browser and see. We go to refresh. We can see that second paragraph is also one straight line. If you want to break it down, you use the break tag, but if you want to keep the spaces in there, we also use an element called non-breaking space. This is how it is also written: the ampersand sign NBSP, then a semicolon, the ampersand sign NBSP, then a semicolon. This will give you one non-breaking space. If you want more, you just copy and paste so many times. You see that it will give you the spaces that you want. If you want to keep the spaces in there, you use this, you go to the browser, you refresh, you see that it has given the spaces. If you don't use this element, the non-breaking space element, spaces you type manually will be ignored by the browser. Now let's quickly go to our third paragraph. In our third paragraph, you have something like this. So the number of lines in a paragraph depends on the size of the browser window. If you resize the browser window, the number of lines in this paragraph will change. So as we've seen from the 2 paragraphs, anytime we type and we see that the paragraph is just one line, and this third paragraph is telling us that it depends on our browser window. So if you resize our browser, the number of lines will change. Now let's test that and see how that works out. So yes, so when it got this part, it broke to the next line. Now let's resize our browser and see. Okay, so let's let's see. Okay, so as we resize it, it changes. Yes, so this one too is true. What he said is true. So as we resized our browser to this size, we see that the number of lines have changed from 1 and some quarter to 2 and some quarter. Okay, so that one too works. What we have done is unformatted text. Now let's look at a few ways to format these HTML tests. Okay, so there are a few tags to use to format HTML content. For example, the paragraphs that we've created, the headings that we've created, we can format them using the following tags. First, we start by talking about italics. Some people call it italics. Whatever the case is, what is in Microsoft Word, but in HTML, this is how the italics works. Okay, so this is how it works. Let's quickly check the results. As I put in the formatting, we will go and check the results in the browser. So let's go and check the results in the browser. Okay, so as we can see, it is displaying in italics form. Next is emphasized text. Let's say we have the italics or the italics, we have the emphasized text. As you can see, it looks like it's the same, but it's not the same. They are both different. Now next we have small. So let's see how the small also displays in the browser. When we refresh, we will see that we have a small text. This text is smaller than the emphasized and the italics. So that is how the small text also displays in the browser. Next we have mark. So let's see how the text is also marked. These are all formatting tags you can use to format your HTML documents. Let's see. Okay, so our text is marked. The next formatting tool we should look at is the delete. Okay, this is how that is also done. So we go to the browser, we will see a deleted text. Okay, so our text is deleted. So let's see how a subscripted text also works. So this is a subscripted text. Let's see. Okay, this is subscripted text. We see that they are not on the same line. Subscripted tests works with superscripted tests. So if this is subscripted text, let's look at how the superscripted text also works. So this is how it is written: SUP. Okay, fine. We can also format our quotations. Now we have two types of quotation. We have a short quotation and a long quotation. So if you want to do for a short quotation, this is how we will present it. This is our quotation. We will use the Q tags to do for a short quotation. So for short quotations, you can use this. So we have our quotation: to err is human. Now this is how a short quotation displays in the browser. For longer quotations, we can use this. Let's see how. So we use block quotes for longer quotation. Let's see how that works. Okay. So for longer quotations now we can see the difference. This is how the short quotation looks like. Let's see how that works in the browser. In the browser, we have our abbreviation HTML. When we put the cursor on it, we will see hypertext markup language. Next, we have address. So we can format our address using the HTML tag called address. So this is how the address is also read. We bring the address. Now we have the break tags to break it into how we want it to display. So now let's check the results from the browser. So in case you want to write any address in HTML, you use the address tag to write your address. Last but not least, we want to cite somebody. We have an HTML document that we are preparing, and then within that somebody made a statement that we want to cite for reference's sake. So we can go like using the HTML tag called cite to do that formatting. This is how that is also written. So cite opening tag, cite closing tag. Within that you bring the person you are citing. In our case, I'm citing Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in a speech he made in 1957. Let's see how that is also represented in the browser. So as we can see, we have our site here, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah 1957. Finally, another exciting episode has ended. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that any new video we post you will also get it. You can also connect with us on social media, Programx GH, and email us at info@programx.org. Thank you. See you in our next video.